Hello, awesome people. I hope you're having a great day today. Today we're taking a look at The Summer People, which is the final short story by Shirley Jackson in the collection that we've been doing a deep dive into called Dark Tales, that was published in 2017 by Penguin Classics. I picked it up a couple of months ago because I wanted to do a deep dive for Shirley Jackson here for the channel. Here's my copy of it, which I'll link to you in the comments below in case you're interested in picking it up yourself. Now, this short story is about 15 minutes long. Knocked it about a half an hour last night. This is the final short story in this collection. Most of the short stories in here are actually pretty small. Many of them are like less than 10 pages or just over 10 pages, like the last one was 12 and so forth. I'm going to be giving a 7 out of 10 to this one, just like the last short story home. Now, I don't do spoilers, so I'll just give you the first couple pages of this 15-page long short story for you, where this short story's key concept is that we have an older couple. The man is 60, the woman is 58, and they have a lake house at this small town. They stay at till Labor Day, and then they go back home to New York City. And they've decided that the weather is nice, and every time they go back to New York City, they're like, why did we go back so soon? But it's just their traditions, and they're very traditional people, but they decide this time they're going to stay at the lake house in the country and so forth. And then slowly over time, some bad things are going to happen. Now, this horror short story has a horror aspect maybe to it. There is a horror interpretation of this short story, but it's not written in a horror way. And so forth. But we're doing a deep dive into Shirley Jackson because she's a classic horror writer of the American side of things. I put her in my Mount Rushmore of the top 4 horror American writers of all time, along with King, Poe, and Lovecraft. I have done only 2 stories by Shirley Jackson prior to doing this deep dive. The first was a story that I read in college called The Lottery by Shirley Jackson. That was decades ago. I haven't gone back and reread it, and I haven't reviewed it for you, but it's one of these sort of American canons. I read it in a literature class, and it's called The Lottery. And I would give it a 10 out of 10 if I did review it for you. The other is her seminal novel, The Haunting of Hill House, which was massively influential on films and other literature that came later, and it was heavily read. And I read that for this channel a couple of years ago for spring break. Loved it a lot too. I think I gave it an 8 out of 10, although I haven't gone back to watch my video. So 8 out of 10 and a 10 out of 10. That's definitely a writer I want to take a deeper dive into. So hence my deeper dive into, the Shirley Jackson stuff. Now, some of the short stories in this collection, to be fair, aren't in the horror genre. And they aren't, well, one of them is arguably science fiction on the last page. It seems like it's horror, and then all of a sudden, boom, science fiction on like the last paragraph. But about half of these, I'd say, in this collection are not in the horror genre. Now, I did reviews for them anyway, because it's Shirley Jackson, right? She's one of the most influential horror writers of all time, right? She's beloved. So I'm still gonna do it, even though it's not one of the 3 genres, horror, science fiction, or fantasy, that I review for you. Similarly, Stephen King has done books that are not in the horror genre either. If I were to read those and do the reviews for them, I don't think anybody would push back and say, "Why are you reviewing that short story? That's not horror." I've also done reviews by classic writers in one of these genres that are in other genres too. For example, Robert E. Howard is one of the most influential fantasy writers of all time with his Conan the Barbarian stuff. Writing during the pulp era. Well, he was an amateur boxer, so he wrote some boxing short stories as well that I actually reviewed for you. Sorry. I also reviewed a short story called The Blue Flame of Vengeance for Robert E. Howard, 2 for his Solomon Kane series, which only has nothing in it that's actually fantasy or science fiction or horror in the 3 genres that I review. It's even though it's a key pulp hero that's typically set with a lot of fantasy and horror stuff elements to it, but none is in Blue Flame of Vengeance. Again, no pushbacks. So I feel fine doing reviews of the Shirley Jackson stuff that's not horror stuff because it's fine. She's Shirley Jackson, right? So there you are. I'll go ahead and leave you to it. We're finished this collection. It's a lot of fun. I typically gave every story in this collection a 6 or a 7 out of 10. One was a 6-. I didn't like it that much. And one was an 8. And I loved that one a lot. That was the Runaway story. It's the second short story in the collection. But most of it was 6s and 7s. More 7s than 6s, if I remember correctly. I did like it. I definitely think it's worth your time and your money if you're interested in doing it, following me and doing a deeper dive into Shirley Jackson. So there you are. I'll go ahead and leave you to it. Have you read The Summer People? What'd you think of it? I'm giving it a 7 out of 10, just like the previous short story. Now, this short story actually has a lot in common with the previous short story. The previous short story that we reviewed last week for you had a married couple moving to the country from the city to encounter some dark stuff. And this counts a summer couple outstays their welcome and encounters some dark stuff. So they're both involve a married couple that are either moving to the country or staying in the country past Labor Day that dark things happen to. So there's a similarity to them. And there's some similar themes to them, but still 7 out of 10. So there you are. I'll leave you to it. Please, if you enjoyed this video, why not hit the subscribe button? There's going to be a lot more of these to follow. And then finally, I want to thank you so much for taking some time out of your day and investing it and watching my video. We all have so many things that are happening in our lives, and we're pulled in so many different directions. So the fact that you spent this time with me is incredibly humbling, and I appreciate it. So thanks again, and have an amazing day.